Hey everyone, and welcome to Comedians on Technology, People and Drugs. I'm your host, Sam Joseph, and today we're very lucky to have comedian Andy Zapp with us. Hey Andy, it's really great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for sharing your time.
Great to be here.
Yeah, now you are an extremely funny person, and I'm sure that the audience is falling about and bashing themselves with wiffle bats, wanting to know your comedy origin story. Was it that you founded a sort of like a community of elves west of the Misty Mountains, and occasionally helped out, comedy hobbits coming through? How did it all kick off?
I don't know. I suppose it was cartoons when I was a kid. I
Oh
used to
yeah,
love Bugs Bunny. Used to love, Foghorn Leghorn. Used to like the Sylvester the Cat. Yeah, I've always loved comedy, and then about I don't know 17 years ago, a friend of mine bought me a comedy course,
oh yeah.
and maybe a bit longer now, 18 years ago, maybe slightly longer even. And she bought me a comedy course and cost me £350, and I'm still waiting for the refund. But, but, and I was still working then, and I had a young family. So I had two daughters, and I went on the course, and it was quite going on comedy courses kind of reminds me of like being in drug treatment. And you
Yeah.
sort of all come out of drug treatment and you've got all these lovely pals around you that are supporting you. And it was quite supportive from that point of view. I don't know how much good it did me, but it got me started. I did the showcase, which I was really nervous of doing. And because I didn't know what a joke was.
Mm.
They until you've been doing it a while, you don't understand. You can read about it and stuff like that, but you really don't know what a joke is. I
Mm.
remember going on my preview, or my showcase, and I was deadly nervous, and they were laughing. Everybody was kind of laughing. It was just they were laughing at my nervousness, but I had no clue what I was doing up there. And but I just really enjoy comedy. Always have. I had the comedians. In the old day, Tommy Cooper was a great inspiration to me. And what was his name? Oh, the American guy. They used to call him the Beast.
Oh.
Oh, famous Jewish comic. I can't think of his name off the
Mm.
top of my head. But Richard Pryor,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, I'd still I like Joe Smiths, like Mick Miller. I like him.
Oh yeah.
I like his stuff. I like Ricky Gervais. My journey started properly about 13 years ago when I properly got into it and started doing open mics. But when I first did the course, I didn't do it for about 4 years, four
Oh
and a
really?
half years, and then a friend of mine said, "Come down, do this thing," and I just stuck at it. I yeah, I love what I do. I try. What I tend to do is I do the same old stuff, but every time I go and do a gig, I'll always have one or two new jokes,
Right.
and stuff gets pushed to the back. And
Mm-hmm.
I have about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes worth of stuff, and yeah, and I'm really pleased with it. I'm quite proud of it. I've got the persona down now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just this old geezer, right? All right, darling. Cockney geezer, bit of an old bloke, been around, still got it. The thing I still got. I think I might have misplaced it, but I've still got it, and it just really works for me now. And people don't. Before, when I didn't have that persona part
Oh.
of me,
Mm.
people would think I was being real, and they'd get quite sort of shocked by some of the stuff that I'm saying. But now that I just sort of play with it much more, it's much more playful, the comedy. I don't take myself serious. Excuse me, take myself seriously at all. I just have a laugh, don't I? I just love it. Yeah, really enjoy the comedy journey. Just open mics, get some good gigs, get a few paid ones. I've done some nice gigs. I did one with Russell Brand. Like, did a fundraiser with him
Oh
up
yeah.
at that big theatre at the top of just on the Cambridge Circus. Big. That was great.
Mm.
I've done Top Secret. Done a few other clubs, but I'm still really like semi-professional comedian, really. Yes, but I enjoy it. So I'm retired now, so I can pick and choose, and I get some nice gigs. Some gigs you rock up to. The artwork looks fantastic,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you get there, and there's just the cleaner with a mop and bucket standing there, a couple of mean-spirited open mic comedians who don't laugh at your jokes because they're
Yeah.
too self-obsessed about their shit. But I'm used to all that now, so
Mm, mm, mm.
I could. Yeah, I really love doing comedy. Yeah, just I like to see people progressing as well,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's worthwhile. It's lovely making people laugh.
Mhm,
I do
mm.
enjoy that.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
It's too,
It's go on.
go on. Sorry.
Yeah, the well, I know, fascinating to hear that, and also to hear about comedy course almost going on for 20 years ago. I mean, I sort of maybe they did exist when I first thought about trying comedy. I wish I'd known that there was a course or could have done a course. That would have been fantastic at the time. But yeah, I mean, lots of fascinating things there in the story. And I guess you even before the comedy course, you were saying you loved comedy, you loved the cartoons, the comedians, and so on. I guess before the comedy course, you'd maybe never considered doing it yourself, or had you done other kinds of performance before the comedy course was bought for you? What was your?
Well, I always like performing. I've been in bands, been in
Oh
some
yeah,
quite nice bands. Had a band called Long Orange. The guy that we had a band, and that was quite successful. Um, but that was more kind of an artistic fallout. We had the band, but the guy
mm,
who was singing at the time, great singer songwriter, used to produce John Martin,
mm,
taught me a lot. So I've done music in bands. I've always done a bit of
right.
Amdram. Just I've sort of went to art school, got chucked out of a couple of art schools,
Oh yeah.
but I've always gone down that path. Kind of the arty farty kind of path, and I've always enjoyed the arts, theatre, music, um, poetry. I like writing. I've yes, yeah, that's kind of my the way I channel my creativity is, and now like it's just really people. I've been doing comedy now, say for 13 years, and I go to these open mics and sometimes like your one is really good. I,
Oh,
I
thanks.
I really enjoy it. It was well run, and there's always a good audience there of about 20, 30
Hmm,
people, and they're
hmm.
all up for it. And it is funny because you can see newer comedians and the lack of experience, but it is just in the doing and the experience of it. And they come up to me and say, "Oh, that was really good. You were really funny." But I won't hasten to add that this is 13 years of work,
Right.
and it is work on
Mm.
one level. It is. That's
A
that,
lot
but
of
that's
effort.
what
There's
I
a
like.
lot of
I like
effort
the
and
way
energy
it
has gone into it.
develops,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
You know, I I had one thing about my comedy, and I only realised it about a year ago, and that was when I was. It was a little bit before Edinburgh, but it kind of and it was only so that's sort of 12 and a bit years into doing it. I had to
Mm.
get really feared up going on stage,
Mm.
and my fear was that I'm being judged by these adults. So
Okay.
I'm getting on that these adults are going to judge me,
Mm.
and I think I was talking to Paul Merrick,
Oh yeah.
and he just said something to me. I forget what he said, and then sort of the penny dropped after that. That I am usually at a gig the alpha adult. I'm not saying the alpha male, but I'm usually the oldest person there,
Sure.
and then it kind of changed my whole
Mm.
approach to the people in the room. Like
Mm.
you would be like my kind of, I don't know, my youngest son, I would suppose. I don't know.
Mm.
Like the status changed a lot
Right.
for me.
Right.
So that I do know what I'm doing. Like they're not judging me. They've come here for a good night out,
Mm.
and and that sort of changed things for me as well. And then landing on the persona. So I go to gigs now, and I'm relatively confident that 98% of the time, 99% of the time, I'm going to deliver. They're going to have a good time. I'm going to
Mm.
have a good time. And but that's the work,
Yeah,
just to get. That's what I love about it. And all I do now is just try and if I can add one new joke to my set each week,
right.
or two new jokes, I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, good. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and so it sounds like you were already you did lots of different kinds of performance. Like when the comedy course came up, it wasn't like such a strange thing. Like I think for some people, the idea of doing stand-up comedy is anathema, right? It's like that. It's like basically they would rather die than be put on a
Yes.
stage like by themselves. But given the different things that you've done, I guess this friend who got the comedy course for you, they knew that you liked a bit of performance, a bit of dramatics, what have you. And so, and when they offered you the comedy course, you didn't think, oh my goodness, I couldn't possibly, what have you. You were like, oh, that'd be an interesting new art form to pursue. Was how
Yeah.
you were thinking originally. Is that right?
Something like that. But I do remember, like the first, when I did my showcase,
Yes.
I think I only had about one joke in the set, really, a
Right.
proper joke.
Yeah.
All the other stuff was just verbiage, really, or
Right.
just me talk, looking funny and being funny. But I had
Mm.
no idea what a joke. And I was really, before the gig, I was walking around the venue, and
Mm.
I was feeling quite sick. I
Right.
was kind of
Sure.
genuinely quite so anxious.
Mm.
The night before, I think, well, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Mm. Mm.
But then once you kind of end up on stage, once you kind of end up there, and it's kind of, you do your thing. 5 minutes seems like a proper mind fuck. The first time
Mm.
you do it, it's terrifying. Well, it was for me anyway. That was my experience. But I broke through that, and then, like I said, I didn't do it for a good 3 or 4 years,
Said,
and then
yeah.
I gave it another go. And I look back at my old stuff, and I think my first gig when I came back it was a really good gig because I got a couple of gigs off the back of it.
Oh yeah.
And then it was all kind of downhill after that.
Mm.
But, and then all I've been doing is trying to make it better, been writing with people. I've been writing with Steve Best.
Mm.
He did some writing with me. Ivor
Mm.
Dembina.
Mm.
He did some writing with me. Ben Clover, like he was a real help to me. Um, who else? Who else? I know, yeah, but it's just yeah. So I've just tried writing with Jamie Allerton helped
Mm.
me a bit.
Yeah.
Other people, what was his name? He's a really good MC. Grant, what's his name? Something Grant. Stephen Grant.
Oh yeah.
He did a rewrite for me. He was really helpful,
Great.
and it kind of puts you on track.
Mm.
And and then just writing, trying to think of new jokes and
Mm.
stuff, and like I do. Most weeks I'll come out with one or two new jokes. I put
Yeah.
them in the set, put stuff to the back.
Yeah.
Like, and people say, "Don't you get fed up of doing the old stuff?"
Oh yeah.
Well, and then I say to them, "Well, the old stuff hasn't had a good outing yet. Let's have it right." You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So all this stuff that you're kind of doing, and it's successful. And every time I go up, I'll do a couple of new bits. But the old stuff hasn't had a good, a really good outing. It's kind of done a few open mic clubs and not bad. Like I've done some stuff at, like I say, Top Secret, a few,
Mm.
a few others like that. Yeah, but it's I think I must have beat the gong at the gong, at the store about 6 times, but
Oh
I still
really?
don't get a gig off them because I'm beating the main gong. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of, but it doesn't, it doesn't bother me like that much.
Mm.
I just crack on and do my stuff, and
Right.
I get picked up, and I think you have to hassle, and I'm not. I'm good at hassling, but at my age, I can't be
Can't be asked.
asked really.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I
Yeah. Hear that.
oh, do send me an email, and then I look at my blimey, I haven't spoken to them for 7 months. I've asked and haven't sent my stuff out, and my relationship with tech isn't all that good. So
Yeah. Well,
I
come on to that in a minute. I was just
yeah.
going to ask, out of interest, which was the comedy course that you did all those years ago?
Oh no, I'm not going to grass him up. No, I'm not going to. Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ask him for the refund. No, it was really. Oh, what was his name? He wrote that book on comedy on stand up. What's his name? It's got.
Oh, yeah, I've done his MC course, and I keep forgetting his name, which I feel really bad about. Oh my good lord.
He
Yeah,
does Rigsby. He does the character Rigsby.
he
Oh,
might he absolutely does. And God, that's so
what's
annoying.
his name? Well,
I
it's
know
just
this
gone
is
out of my head now.
it's
I
I've
always
got
had his name on the tip of my tongue. It's like
yeah,
trying to find the punchline. But it was a really useful call, and his book is fantastic. Doing it's called Stand Up Comedy. I
yes.
know it. Um, oh, blimey, what's his bloody name?
I will have it momentarily because I've got him in my Instagram because I did his MC course not so long ago. And if I can just find the bloody thing. This is a fascinating podcasting experience for the listeners as two senior
Probably
gentlemen try and go
yeah,
through
with
their.
Alzheimer's.
Oh, it's so frustrating. I mean,
Bloody old lady's kicking in
uh,
there.
oh, here we go. Yeah, I mean, it's just what's so. I do, doing comedy. I meet so many people. Meet absolutely so many people. It's Logan Murray, isn't it?
Logan, yeah,
Oh, I
exactly.
can't believe Logan's
Logan, right.
Run.
No, it's a
Go on.
lovely course. I had a great time on it.
Yeah,
His book is fantastic. It's like
yeah,
the go-to, really.
yeah,
I've read some others, very good, but like as a complete sort of tone where he kind of addresses it all. I enjoyed Adam Bloom's book, which
yeah.
is great. He's always, like he said some great things about me, gave me some great quotes. He saw me up in Edinburgh, like
Oh, yeah,
like he's been very sort of supportive. Um, but Logan Murray, yeah, the course was great. It was
yeah, yeah.
really good fun. Like I say, still owes me 350 quid because I'm not funny, but that's just a joke. But I do say, I do, especially at open mics, I love saying, has anybody been on a comedy course?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah,
got your refunds back yet? And
yeah.
they get it, they all laugh. But,
Mm.
but the book is great. I'm always kind of dipping into it
Oh,
even
yeah.
now. It's like a guy called Steve Baker who wrote a book about harmonica playing. It's one of those books that you just keep dipping into.
Right.
Like Logan Murray's book is great on stand-up comedy. There are some good books out there.
Yeah.
Uh, Adams is good. There's another one by what's her name, Sally something. I can't think of
Oh,
her
yeah.
last name, but yeah, it all helps. And yeah, I
No, that's great. I really enjoyed Adam Bloom's book. I haven't actually because I did the
mhm.
MC course with Logan Murray, but I haven't read his book, so
Yes,
I'll maybe have to get that. But yeah,
yeah,
I'm
it's
just
worth getting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But interesting. So you did you did the comedy course. I mean, it's interesting as you say, like before that very first gig, you were very nervous. I mean, despite obviously having had a lot of performance experience, there was something about comedy that was somehow the
Yes.
ante
Yeah.
was being upped. But
Yeah.
and I imagine this is like so many people doing comedy courses. Once you've entered in a course, it's
Yeah.
kind of it's less easy to. I mean, people do drop. I mean, actually, on the course, I originally did the Amused Mooses course,
Yes.
which I think is what Logan Murray was doing before. I did it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing it with Marcus Bergman like was it 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Anyway, and like, there were people who started the course and then dropped out. But the majority of the people, you get through the course, everybody's very nervous before the showcase, but you get up and do it. And then different people. I mean, I guess at least you enjoyed some aspect of this experience, but you had that, like you said, that was a big gap. You didn't immediately feel after having done that first one that you were like, right, I've got to do lots more of this. You were like, oh, I've tried that bucket list ticked off, move on.
Yeah.
Was how you
Yeah.
felt at the time.
Well, what sort of work got in the way?
Right.
It was, like it was kind of just I had different, different things to fry. Basically,
Yeah.
it wasn't, and then I started thinking, well, I need to be doing this, and
Mm,
then a few years later, I did. I started really late.
mm.
That's the thing. How old was I? I'm 77 now, so I
Right.
started 13 at 67. So I was 63 when I started doing it again.
Yeah, yeah. Which is, I mean, it's amazing. Well, and I'm connecting there because, so I mean, I was able to do the course and then kind of go straight into open miking because my kids were at an age where they were becoming independent, not completely,
yeah,
but they were becoming independent. So it sorted you in. But it sounds like when you originally did the course, life and whatever, there just wasn't the space for it. But it
yeah.
gave you the flavor for it. And like you said, then
Of
I
course,
mean, it
sure.
gives. I mean, I often feel like I started late because I basically did that course when I was 49,
Well, you
and the
did
fact that
start
you've
late then, yeah.
yeah, by comparison. But the fact that you started at 63 it is a fantastic inspiration. I mean, you sir, are an inspiration, not
Thank
just to
you.
me, but to lots of people. It's great to see you doing so well. Yeah, it gives me because I look at people like we had Callum McKenzie on the show, and I think he started. Oh, what was it like? Probably not until he was like 27 or something. And I'm like, oh, what I would have given to start at 27.
Yeah, yeah,
It's all the hair that I would have still had, but yeah, it's but yeah. So then you got those. I'm just interested to dig into that first open mic because often what people say, and I think it was my experience, probably yours as well, is the showcase. That's kind of like a bit of a warm, supportive. It's got friends and family. It's
yeah,
being set up to do, all this, that, and the other. That first open mic gig is often a very different experience. But you said that first one went really well. Were you
yeah.
similarly nervous going into it?
I don't know. It just there's a guy called Chris Dangerfield who he had a couple of successful. He wasn't a stand up really, but he had a couple of successful shows in Edinburgh. He
Oh
had
yeah.
one called Sex Tourist that was really good, like his experiences of Thailand and stuff. And then he did another one about his own sexual abuse, and he was
Oh
called it
wow.
Sex with Children.
Sure.
And they were both successful 5-star shows up in.
Mm, mm.
I kind of knew him before he'd done the shows, and he got me a gig at the Queen's Head, which
Oh
was,
yeah.
I think, Francis Foster was involved in that. There was who else? Oh, there was quite a few people involved. Sort of Leo Curse was coming up then.
Hmm.
Um, there were quite a few people, and it just went really well. I loved it. I kind of loved it. I got a flavour for, you couldn't get me off stage.
Mm.
I was quite bullish in some ways, and
Right.
people were quite, not scared of me, but I've got, I was a bit geezery, I was
Yeah.
just a bit pushy, but so you've got this old geezer who's 63, and I kind of looked young for my age, so and they
Mm.
couldn't quite figure me out. Was I an
Right.
old
Right.
gangster? Could I, would I start fighting? Would I
Right.
kick off? I kind of gave this vibe. I hadn't kind of come to terms with what a nice bloke I am, really. And
Mm.
I'm kind and gentle and very considerate and think of other people. But when it comes to comedy, get out my fucking way. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
gotcha.
Fair enough. Yeah, and you did that first gig, and it went well, and you said you got
Yeah,
gigs off the back of it. But and then like the kind of the compulsion, the addiction. Then you were like, I want to do this. I want to do this as much as I
yeah,
can.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
You
Yeah,
just get, yeah, you just like, yeah, that is it. It's just it's a funny addiction, really.
it
Like
is
once you
strange.
get on that stage and making people laugh, it's so
So more, isn't
now,
it?
but now it's kind of it's not it's nice now. I don't get. It's like when I used to play music though.
Oh yeah.
Used to, like I play harmonica, I sing, but I play harmonica really well. I can, I've played with some good blues players. I've played
Mm.
with good musicians and stuff like that. But the thing was, like when I first started doing it, the sound's got to be perfect. It's
Hmm.
always got to be like this,
Mm.
and now I know a gig's a gig. Like you work
Right.
with what you've got, and
Right.
that's where I am with my stand-up comedy. You turn up, whatever's there, you try and just work with it, and I try and make it work, and that's
Mm.
that was the lesson learned from the music part of it. You turn up at a gig, it ain't Carnegie Hall.
Hmm.
It's usually a room in a pub or it's a,
Yep.
biggest club or whatever. And there's always something not quite right.
Yeah.
And, uh, and that's why I was really pleased with your gig because it was all there. The clock was there, the lights were there, the mic worked, the music was on. You had somebody doing the sound,
Yeah.
fantastic, but you turn up at gigs and they can't even get the mic, they got no mic stand. They haven't got the sound is shit,
Mm.
but you work with what you've got. And,
It's tricky. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it I think comes down to the relationship with the venue. We've been very lucky with the Sunset Comedy.
yeah,
With the previous bar manager. I mean, now as I was saying to you before the show, like he's gone back up north and that. But we're now working with other venues, and the it's not quite on the same level, but O'Neill's in Watford, they've been very supportive. They've sorted
Yeah.
out all the sound for us. It's and I think it all comes down to that relationship with the venue and a bit
Yes.
of upfront preparation. And I mean, you and I, a bit longer in the tooth, we've been around the block a few times, and we can kind of predict a few things go wrong. I think, no disrespect, I'm sure there are some very organized people in there, late teens and 20s and so on, but people earlier in the game, so to speak, they're not, they're kind of they're fueled by the same addiction of wanting to get up and put on a show and all this, that, and the other. But yeah, it's like sometimes their relationship with the venue might not be fantastic, and similarly, their attention to detail in the run up to the show may be sometimes a little bit like we've all been at those gigs, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, those famous words when they say, "Oh, it'll be all right," and then I think, "Hey, it fucking ain't." Excuse my English.
Uh,
It ain't, mate. It ain't going to be all right. You know what I
but
mean?
that,
It's going to be what it is, but it's, I'll be all
it
right.
often is what it is because it's so few things are what they're not. That's what I always say. But let's move into our second question, which you kind of preluded before about how technology is affecting your life and comedy. And you're
Well,
saying, you're not a big tech fan. I mean, this is, I'm interested in any kind of technology, whether it's pencil and paper or really this
yes.
is sort of like a thin veneer on wanting to
Well,
better understand your comedy process. But yeah, tell me about the tech and tell me about how you get your life and your comedy done.
well, the tech, like tech drives me mad, really. You know what I mean? Especially, scrolling or doom scrolling, as they call
Mm,
it. But, like sort of putting vids up and, I'm not very good at that, and I don't
mm,
really put myself out. Like I think I need to get. Next time I come down to Sunset, when I do Sunset, I've got to get somebody to just film it for me because it's a nice room. It kind of,
mm, mm, mm,
I always do well, so I've kind of, but it's just I'm I well, tech it's okay because I've kind of understand it. I'm,
mm.
like I I can send emails, I can make a film. I'm involved with this thing called Deadliners,
Oh
where
yeah.
we kind of make little films and we do stuff in the studio, and then we have a few people in this studio, and then what
Oh,
happens is they talk and that, and then when it's all over, we have it all, and then we edit it, and we do, I do
oh yeah.
stuff in the edit with a friend of
Oh
mine.
really? Mm,
So it's interesting, but it's just like I've got a really basic Samsung phone that cost me 160 quid. I need to upgrade it because I was at a gig one day and I wanted to film myself and I'm
yeah.
filming it with my camera and it's
Mm.
just and all the light on the face, it just whited out my face. And then I asked Brooke Hoare, I said to him,
Yeah.
Brooke, can you film me? And he had a nice Apple phone
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
filmed it. The sound was great. So I do know I need to up my game with
Mm,
the
mm.
tech. It's, like I have a friend of mine who's got two PhDs in AI, and when I talk to him,
Oh yeah.
he goes, "Don't worry about it, Andy. It's all going to be all right." It's like, and I do remember, like my father talking about in the Polish village that he lived in all those years ago. This
Mm.
woman got a sewing machine there,
Oh
and
yeah.
she was communing with the devil,
Ooh.
and the same kind of mentality. Not sewing machines, blimey, not a sewing machine. Got a sewing machine, and it's that kind of everybody's kind of thinking AI is going to take over.
Uh-huh.
But all AI needs electricity, and it's quite easy to flip the switch, really.
You said it was interesting. I do actually. I also have a PhD in AI and an AI leadership podcast. So it's an area of special interest to myself, where
Yeah,
I often ask my guests what they think about, whether the AIs will be able to take over, and with a clear answer from there. Basically, if they get Larry, just flip off the switch. Is what you're saying.
so don't put any more money in the meter. Don't pay the bill.
There we go. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and I think we've got you up at Crack Comedy probably like in Feb, so maybe we can get you.
Yes.
That's also yeah, it's not. It's it's a reason, and probably Brooke will be there again to get you a video. But yeah, so it's like you get some videos. I mean, we're here on Zoom today. I mean, I think every comedian these days is like, oh, I should be putting more clips and up and online. It's a lot of work. But I was going to ask, does the technology intrude in your process? Like for example, are you a pen and paper man, or do you take on a
Pen
note
and
app
paper,
or
yeah.
pen and paper?
Pen and papyrus. Virus and a quill and
Quill,
a
yeah.
candle.
Clay tablets, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
do like. Yeah, I tend to. Well, the thing for me is, that's what I do. If I, it's with the gigging, like typing it out, it's too slow.
Mm,
I type quite slowly. I can type
mm,
out, but it's just too slow. So if I say I haven't gigged for a couple of weeks now, since I had the flu, I've kind of not gigged and stuff, and
mm,
I've got
mm,
I've got a paid one, I think, next week somewhere, and then I've got
mm.
another paid one in Canterbury. And I
Yeah.
have to, I get out the notebook and I just write the set out longhand,
Oh,
and
longhand, really?
it
Yeah.
helps me kind of retain it, and
Mm,
it becomes fresh again. But I have been doing it for 13 years, and I do know a lot of it. But sometimes I can just go
mm.
up there if I haven't done it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'll go, what? I forget punchlines and stuff like
Yeah, or
that.
you miss a little, you miss a turning. I mean, I did that the other night. It was like, oh, there was actually it was a new one, but there was a point at which I had to say one thing, and I just ran straight past the exit, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's easily done, isn't it?
Yes, I've done it a few times, like, but with my kind of, like AI, great, I don't know, I don't really have a problem with it. It's just I don't really connect with it that, I'm like my kids, like Besh Bosh Bash, grandkids, Bish Bosh Bash, me, I, the only thing AI or technology and all that is, I could have a better relationship with it. Really, it would
Mm.
kind of improve. I think it would improve my online presence,
Oh yeah.
because when I do deadliners and we kind of, like, I do a short and I'll do a joke on it or something like that. Um, like I get maybe 4 or 5 thousand views, like
Oh
on a,
really?
so it's not bad, but
No, it's great.
somebody else is doing that, and I
Right.
kind of, I'm good at, if I've got somebody who'll do it, I can be left to do the creative stuff.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I don't particularly like AI graphics because they tend to look the same, and
Mm,
they always
mm,
kind of, I'm not, like I don't, I'm not particularly enamored by them, although they're
mm.
quite good. People say, I created this, using AI. Well, you didn't create fuck all, it was AI that created it. You just told it what to do, and it
Right,
was,
right.
you know, and it takes, I don't know, I, I don't know. For me, AI is, yeah, I'd be interested. AI courts, AI this, how AI is it going to get? Like that
Well,
joke I say, in London you've got AI, in Newcastle you've got YI, and in Scotland you've got Okai. But I, I haven't, I haven't got I don't know how it, but I'm sure it'll all be fine. Like you
yeah.
say, you turn it on.
In the long run, the sun will explode and just wipe everything out, and it's
Yes, yeah, we won't be here in another. Yeah,
a
that's
billion
it.
years or so.
It'll all
Sure,
be
sure.
gone. Who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah. So we're all
Just
well.
be positive.
I mean,
So yeah, my AI, my thing with technology, I'm still, could do better, must try harder, but
mm,
then
mm.
being a bit lazy though, and like not really worrying about stuff like that. I,
Yeah, I mean, I think
I've got,
it's funny.
go on.
It's a funny kind of like. I mean, to be honest, I probably it sounds like you are. Like I think I am, and actually, probably most of us are. We'd like to focus on doing the actual comedy. To be perfectly
Yes,
honest, we don't really
indeed.
want to be
Yeah,
video editors or like social media managers or this, that, and the other. We just wanted to like it's the live experience with people
indeed.
laughing and us, kind of tweaking our jokes and getting, I mean, that is what we want to be doing. I mean, I'm really interested in you saying you write out longhand. I mean, do you find like that you always keep a notebook with you so that I'm interested that like you saying every week or every time you're up there's like one or two new ideas and those are ideas that you just had while having a shower walking around
Yeah.
and you basically keep it all in one big notebook. Have you got
Oh
any?
no, I've got notebooks everywhere. I've got,
Okay.
like you'll look at my notebooks and it's the, set with a few little bit, because it's the rhythm as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
like if you write a new bit and then you're worrying about remembering that new bit and it kind of, and you really have a shit gig,
yeah.
because you're trying to think, oh, I must get that gig in there. Writing comment. I get a lot of jokes from conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I do
Mm-hmm.
write stuff. I don't think ideas I kind of generate through writing a bit, but it's
Yeah.
conversations. I remember driving back from a gig and and everybody had a really shit. Ben Norris was there, I was
Mm,
there, Leo Kirst was there, a couple of other people were there.
mm,
And I remember, and it was a terrible gig in this market town because this woman came in and said to Ben Norris, what what were we as an audience like? And Ben Norris turned around and said, "You were absolute cunts." And I thought, okay, that's fair play. And I was quite angry because they gave us nothing. They just all kind of just
mm,
sat there and
mm,
just looked at us like we were
mm.
kind of like they were, um, looking at a prize ball that's going to, mate with
Yeah,
a
yeah,
cat.
yeah,
They were just kind of totally disinterested, and
yeah.
it was just the weirdest. But on the way back, I was driving back, and I got that joke. I'm just driving back, furious. I was furious, and I went to the doctors. I went to the doctors. I went to the doctor, and then that joke appeared. Like I went to the doctors, and he said, "Mr. Zapp, can you maintain an erection?" And I'm going. I went, "Can you maintain?" And then the punchline sort of appeared on the journey home.
Right.
I went to the doctor. The doctor said, "Can you maintain an erection?" I said, "Of course I can, just not my own." And that was it. So, I was really happy with that one.
Yeah,
Like,
brilliant.
so all that pain at that gig just got wiped away by that one joke.
Right.
Like that joke is kind of, you know, um,
Yeah, solid.
yeah, solid joke. You can be proud. And I get it through writing stuff. Just stuff pops up. I create. I don't sit down and write. Per se. I don't sit on the computer. On
No.
the computer, all I kind of do is rejig the sets and just. But like I say, the relationship with the IT, the computer is just where I kind of store stuff.
All right. So you do when you say write out longhand, you'll sort of type
I
out.
will, like, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I did my friend Trevor Locke. I've just sent him all, like a big sort of hour and a quarter set. He said
Mm.
send it to me and we'll have a look at it because he came to see me at Ivor Dembina's club
Oh yeah.
in Camden,
Mm.
and suffice to say, I was the funniest on the night, and it was great. And all his mate, because he had a couple of friends over from Germany, comedians and that, and everything just sort of fell into place. And
Mm.
he said that was really good. Just come along and just not come along, just send me your set. And so it took me ages to type it out.
Mm.
Sam, I tell you what, I just typing, and
Mm.
I kind of just lose focus, tap, 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 tap. But
Yeah.
I've sent it to him now, and he said he will have a look at it and get back to me
Mm.
in a few days' time, and just yeah, people. It just work, but the computer stuff really, it's more like where I sort of store stuff, keep
Sure.
stuff. Like this is nice to communicate on Zoom. I enjoy this.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's very. I mean, it's as I've said on the podcast before, like the effort to find a recording studio and all this, that, and the other. I mean, it
Yeah,
makes certain things much easier. I mean, it's interesting on the. I mean, when I started, I was tending to write everything out longhand and then like revising it and revising it and
yeah,
revising it, and I kind of. I would struggle with like getting a bit sick of my own material. Poor old audience, but
yeah,
getting a bit sick of the material, and I would where I am now. I mean, I'm like there's many years to come, but I just have sort of bullet points, and
yeah,
I almost never write things out longhand. Sort of
yeah,
wondering if I should start that again. I'm also, I mean, you also talk about writing with you're talking about writing with Steve Best and Ivan Debina, Ben Clover, and so on. I mean, I mean, I've had offers of people to say, oh, let's get together a bit of writing. I don't know. I feel a bit weird about that kind of like writing together. I guess it's a sort of question of like who then owns what you've written as you're bouncing ideas around this, that, and the other. It's kind of at the moment I sort of put this pressure on myself to try and like when I got this from Callum McKenzie is to try and write at least 10 jokes a day. I'm always like trying out new material on like online and this, that, and the other. I sort of at the moment I sort of feel like I've got to establish myself first. I don't know. How do you feel about that writing with other
yeah.
people? How does that work?
Well, some people I pay, I will pay them. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
really?
I think it's worth paying people
Oh,
because
really?
they just kind of, you know, um, um, like really close mates of mine who, they won't charge me and they'll just sit down and do it out the goodness of their hearts. Like I've done that with a few people.
Mm,
It's just, but it. it's quite good to invest a little bit of money. You know, Stephen Grant was really good on the rewrite. You know, it kind
Mm,
of took it to another level. He's a really good MC. He's like one of the
mm,
top MC. I really like him, and he's one of the top MCs. You know that I really admire, and it was just worth paying him to just do the rewrite. He didn't. He wrote a couple more. He wrote in just about three or four. He kind of organised the set for me,
okay.
and it's like it's a kind of a stop start process, isn't it? Some
Mm,
people, you'll get a lot from, other people not so much, but you'll get
mm,
something that's a good idea. Yeah, I can use that. You know, and then it all becomes a body of work. We
mm.
all we all, some people can just sit down and write stuff. That Sally Holloway, she's got a book about it's, I think it
Right.
called doing stand up, and I can never, I can't sit down and write. I have to be kind of performing. I
Mm,
get it more in the doing,
yeah.
the conversations I have with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where I kind of get my. It's like that stupid. I did a stupid joke. I went to the barbers the other day, and I was just talking, and then somebody said I went to the barbers the other day and got number one on the side. You know what I mean? And I thought, oh, that's yeah. And then we're still talking. I'll go, yeah, got number one on the side, number two on the top. So
Yeah.
he pissed in my ear and
Yes,
shat
and
on
shout
my
on the
head.
head. Yeah.
And it just came out of that conversation. But
Yeah.
it's just interesting. I kind of just pick up on stuff mainly.
Yeah.
I'm always I'm always listening out for a bit of material.
Absolutely.
And but actually sitting down and writing stuff, I'm not that great.
Yeah.
And back to the kind of the computers and all. It's just where I keep stuff, hold on to
Yeah.
stuff. I like it to be out have these Zoom conversations
Mm,
and stuff. I
mm.
prefer, because I remember as a kid, when I was about 6 years old, and I used to get this tracing paper and put a light under it and
Oh yeah.
draw little pictures on it and think, oh, it'd be great if I could, be talking to people and
Mm.
stuff like that. And then it all kind of, 50 years later, 60 years later, there you are. You've got
It's
these kind of machines that do all this stuff.
Yeah,
So,
it's remarkable. It's remarkable. I'm really interested in what you're saying there about like paying for rewrites on shows and so on. And then about the. I mean, I also like I find like what I sort of push myself is to try and write little one liners each day, just as a kind of like
yeah,
not so much that I'm necessarily going to use them that regularly or whatever, but it's just sort of like trying to commit. This is this thing from Callum McKenzie, who got it from some course that he was on. It's sort of a commit to that sort of creative process. I personally like the idea of kind of like trying to write out a comedy show, over the course of an hour and then perform it is like, because I mean, at least what I want to be on stage, whether I've achieved this, is I want to be completely relaxed on
yeah,
stage. And if I'm trying to like do a show, if I'm like almost like I would be an actor, speaking lines, I
yeah,
kind of want to be free on
yeah,
stage in the moment to take it this way and that. And that's, I still don't know exactly what kind of comedian I am, but I kind of prefer discovering things in the moment performing, which it sounds
yeah,
like you do as well, and then also just
yeah,
like having ideas as they come to you, and then jotting them down, then seeing if you can fit them into the set or not, or what have you. I mean, I'll just go back to Jay Yamaki, who was on the show, and I'm trying to emulate from him, and he's actually the world's, was it I've forgotten the word, when they do those the roast off things anyway, but he's the world champion of that whole roast off stuff. But what he says is that he's often preparing for a show and he's got his like plan, but he's totally committed to it doesn't matter if the plan doesn't go well. It's
yeah,
basically
yeah, yeah,
once you're up on stage,
yeah,
just go with. So I was at the Freedom Fridge on Thursday, and I kind of like, oh, people, the first half of that was really good, and I was opening the second half, and I'd had this, I'd written out some of the stuff that's going in my Edinburgh show this year, and I thought a new angle, and I kind of, you know, looking back at it, I wish that I had just thrown away the notes. Do you know what I mean? That I just because there was a guy made a comment in the audience, which was actually linked into a whole set of other material, and I just should have gone with that flow. Do you know what I mean? Like that was that
Yes.
specific thing of the night. But at the same time, I'm still in that kind of nervousness. Oh, I want to deliver this thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
Well, you're kind of hanging on to stuff that, like, I'm going to hang on to the material instead of
Mm.
just kind of, Well, the good thing for me is it's just take them to the joke. If you could remember just to, like, don't worry about it because you've got the jokes, right? It's like
Yeah.
this stuff I do about Father Christmas, like,
Hmm.
and I'll go, oh, well, have you done your shopping? See what comes out of it. And if nothing comes out of it, I just take them to my Father Christmas joke and
Right. Right.
it's done then. So,
Yeah.
like if I can remember to do that,
Yeah.
that frees me up to do a lot of stuff. Oh, what's his name? Russell Hicks, like
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen him die on his arse for 17 minutes,
Oh
but
my
he's
goodness.
dug in. He's just done, and he got him in the last 4 minutes.
Wow.
It was at Ivor's Club. And like
Yeah. Yeah.
I was getting digi, everybody's getting digi, and he just dug in the boy, and like fair play to him.
Right.
He came out at the end like, but that
Amazing.
took some bottle. Like I would have, folded by
Oh,
that. But
amazing story. Well, that maybe segues into our next question. And you've mentioned lots of people already. And actually, that's what often happens in the show is that, the comedy origin story process of developing their comedy. We hear about a lot of people who've had the biggest impact on your life and comedy. But is there anybody else, and that doesn't have to be famous people. I mean, it can just be people that you met along the way or your family or friends, whatever. Is there anybody else that you'd like to shout out as people in relationships that have had the biggest impact on you and your comedy?
there's some, there's a guy called Lee Mack up north. Like
Mm.
who's a really, like he's been cancelled. I don't know, like he's proper cancelled a few times, but he's just a fantastic comic. And you wouldn't get a nicer bloke than him,
Oh,
like
really?
he kind of comes out with stuff. What
Yeah.
was his latest joke? He goes, oh yeah, he said, when I get drunk, he goes, um, yeah, the problem is like prostitutes go missing,
Oh,
and then you go, all right, okay. And then his next line is, yeah, but who cares about prostitutes? And then he
oh.
kind of, but his comedy is very dark, but
Right.
but it's comedy, and so like he's very inspirational to me. Like
Hmm.
that because I do some work with him. I like Leo Curse.
Hmm.
Um, I used to do a lot of like in the early days, used to knock about with Francis Foster now, but he's a bit of a pundit and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
There's, people who encourages me, like Ivor, like I've mentioned Ivor, like I'm really
Yeah.
good friends with Ivor, but the thing is for me, like I'm a
Mm.
77-year-old man, really.
There's
So
a little
I have,
day over 55, mate, but if
yeah,
you
I
say so.
know, still got it, I still got it. But the thing is, it's a bit. Oh, what's his name? Tom Ward.
Oh yeah.
I find very inspirational. I just
Mm.
like the way he kind of does voices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've seen him on. You know, uh, like I say, Russell Hicks.
Mm.
Like I used to see him in the early days.
Mm. Mm.
Um, uh, I'm trying to think of her name now. Oh, she's one of the ADH mob. Oh, what's her name? I can't think of her name, but
Oh, well, you can tell me afterwards. You can put it in the show
yeah,
notes.
yeah, if I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
remember. But I tend to, I don't kind of get, like um, Adam Green.
Oh yeah.
Like we've been along on the journey a lot. Peter Baisley, I'm very fond of.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah. He's very
he's
funny.
kind of been
Yeah.
there. Like we kind of have yeah. There's too many people, really. They've all kind of just fitted into the jigsaw. But like I say, I'm a 77-year-old man. I don't drink, don't smoke, don't take drugs. So I'm kind of at the end of a gig, I'm gone.
Right. Right.
I'm not kind of interested in the so. All I want to do is get home, really. Especially if I'm, yeah, I go to the Christmas, Christmas comedians Christmas dinner. Like I'm very
Yeah.
fond of Peter Cunningham. We're
Oh yeah.
close-ish. He's Frank Sinatra.
Hmm.
And have you seen him?
No, I don't think I have actually.
Oh, watch Frank Sinatra. He does Frank Sinatra songs dressed as Adolf Hitler. I did it. I
Extraordinary.
did it my way, the Steinway. Yeah, well worth it. He's a singer, but like, he's a good
Yeah, yeah,
comedian as well.
yeah, yeah,
And Joe Jacobs,
yeah.
very. Oh yeah, there's so many people that have been along the journey with me. Steve Gribbin, I saw on Saturday. You know,
Mm,
um, Mark Silcox.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We're we have a sort of a we meet regularly once a year, and
mm-hmm,
he's kind of successful. Like there's, and I think there, just different kinds of people there.
mm,
Sean Davis.
mm-hmm.
What's that? She plays Sally, doesn't she? Sally
Yes.
Thingy Bob.
Yeah, she's got a new one called Christine G. She does, which is really funny.
Yes, that's right. Um, Pam Ford.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Old Pammy. Wham
yeah.
bam, thank you, Pam.
She does a great Fergie impression, doesn't she? Yeah,
So yeah, and it's just people on the way, like they've just been quite kind, been supportive. But like I say, I don't really get into the just because of me, like I've been there, got the t-shirt really for the socialising.
yeah.
Since I sort of put down drink and drugs when I was 40, I've
Right.
kind of not that it doesn't bother me, but
Mm.
it doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form, But
Yeah. Well, that's our next question, which is how do drugs affect your perception of reality? So you're already saying like these days, not at all. Maybe a cup of tea, but it sounds like there was a period in your life when they were a bigger factor affecting how you got
well,
some stuff.
I had a good career in drug use.
Oh yeah,
I was a professional drug user. And I had, in the
went pro.
60s, because in the
Oh
60s, it was kind of interesting, really, because in the 60s,
oh yeah,
you'd get, your drugs would come in a lovely box. It'd have Borough and Welcome written on it.
oh yeah.
It'll say diamorphine hydrochloride. It'd have poison written on it and a skull and crossbones on the box. And you think they're the ones for me. They look fantastic. And used to be out in the 60s, used to be out I made a career of just going around doctors,
Oh
and
yeah.
you could get cannabis tincture, you could get heroin, you could get cocaine, you could get
Wow.
crystal meth, you could get all
Gosh.
types of sleeping tablets in those days.
Uh-huh.
Just a different scene,
Mm.
and I kind of managed to, I started, I think, I suppose, properly taking drugs when I was about 17. We had the swinging 60s, how
Mm-hmm.
good was that?
Mm.
Like I say, the pill came in the 60s, didn't it? So, like, we
Right.
were all went fucking mental. Everybody was just, and we said, bye bye condoms, bye bye condoms, hello
Right.
syphilis, hello gonorrhea, but we
Bloody
didn't
hell.
care. It was just different times, mate.
Yeah.
It was so the drug use kind of ran its course by the time I was about 38, 39,
Oh yeah.
and and but that's what I did. I like like I was a professional drug user. Like, I used to get massive prescriptions from doctors and
Oh yeah.
doctors in Harley Street. Oh, good afternoon. Oh, hello, Andrew. It's so nice to see you. Oh, how are you all doing? Blah 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 blah. Yes, well, yes. And he'd write you out a prescription for diamorphine
Right.
or Ficeptone, and that's what I did for years. Like
Wow.
this, sell bits off and stuff. My early life, it was, I did a bit of art school, got chucked out of a couple of art schools, but I was all just off my nut, really. I
Right.
didn't
Right.
quite enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it did, it kind of stopped working by the time I got to about 38, 39, and
Yeah. I think by the time you get into your forties,
by
it's just
then,
the recovery from it all is just you just get too
oh,
tired, don't you? It's just wears you down.
it was just stopped working, really, the drugs.
Yeah.
And I can't, like me, I'm in recovery. I go to NA, not, and
Mhm.
Narcotics Anonymous.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then well, I guess that I was going to ask. That's another question. Was there a psychedelic side to your '60s experience? What
Oh yeah, but we had the bed. We had oozly, like the oozly LSD, like proper. It was proper, I remember this bloke came over from the States and he had these 500 milligram and 1,000 milligram oozly tablets.
Oh
If you
yeah.
had one of those, I said, all right, geezer. And we've took them, and I remember just sitting in this room. I remember opening up an encyclopedia and I
Oh
was
yeah.
looking at this picture of this Chinese village, and everything just came to life.
Oh wow.
Everything was like the dogs were barking, these Chinese people were pushing them around. It was just amazing. So
Right.
yeah, I had a kind of a psychedelic. I'm more of a heroin man
Oh
myself. Like
really?
I just like the kind of just the numbness of it all.
Oh wow.
Like I was like the ready brick boy. Like that glow
With the
around
glow, right?
with the glow. So that was
Goodness me.
nice.
Wow, wow. Right, it's interesting. I mean, because I think the on the psychedelic side, some people talk about these things as affecting their creativity or seeing behind the
Yeah.
reality. I mean, I don't know how much credence you give to that, but I'm also really interested to hear. I mean, like my perception of heroin, having never done it, is that it's just incredibly difficult to give up. I mean, it's sort of like, is it almost
Well, it's addictive. It's
yeah.
addictive, but as a drug, it's a much better drug than cigarettes and alcohol,
Mm,
really. The
mm,
only thing you're going to find with heroin is I'm not advertising for heroin, but like don't forget the East India Company like sold heroin to the world, really, or gave opium to the world.
right,
And
right.
used to blame the Chinese, the terror of the Tong and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Chinese coming over here selling their opium. Well, actually, it was East India Company, good British gentlemen from Hertfordshire,
Right.
who did all that.
Mm,
But as a drug, it was, the only thing about it, it was addictive, and especially with diamorphine hydrochloride, which was kind of distilled morphine,
right,
you could overdose on it and you could die if you took too much.
right, right.
But otherwise, as a drug, it was through your body. Your body got rid of it within 7 hours.
Hmm.
You know, you would, and you needed more because like what it did was the heroin sort of took over the body pain killing, your natural body's pain killing
Right, right,
drugs that
right.
you have already. So, and then what happens is you miss you get the withdrawals and all that, but
Sure.
apart from the withdrawal, so as long as you've got plenty of heroin, you're laughing really, and it didn't do any damage to the internal organs, or
Hmm.
it was a much better drug than alcohol, and
Right. I
much,
guess in
much
that there
better
was
drug than cigarettes.
interesting.
So,
But then, so was that very difficult for you to ultimately give it up, or it just became unavailable, or what? How did you get yourself out of
well,
that?
then they, like they tried to. What they did, in the 60s, I remember them substituting methadone for heroin, which
Hmm.
was a much stronger drug, which
Hmm.
lasted over a period. You wouldn't start with heroin, you'd start withdrawing within 7 hours, but
Hmm.
with methadone, you'd be, you got a good 18, 20 hours out of it, and it held you longer. They used to these Phyceptone amps, which was injectable
Hmm.
methadone in these little ampules. You used to be able to get those on prescription or from clinics and stuff like
Wow.
that. With cocaine, they had a period, they had about a 3 or 4 year period where they would give you crystal meth or methadone at the
Hmm.
time
Hmm.
as a substitute to get you off of cocaine, which, well,
Right.
crystal meth is even worse than cocaine. So,
Hmm.
and the methadone was even worse than the heroin, really.
Right.
So yeah, they didn't get that bit right, and then there was all sorts of drugs you could get on. There was Ritalin, which is used for
ADHD
hyperactive
now, isn't it?
children.
Yeah.
But it's a speed. But if you mixed it with Phyceptone, you got quite a good hit off of it. There was Diconol you could get from Doctor's Parfum. Used to be able to get dexamphetamine. It
Wow.
was, yeah,
Different
it's
times.
different times. Yeah, now it's all, the drugs are pretty, the people that are taking like ketamine. There was a guy from King's College Hospital, and he said, well, he was, this was a good 15 years ago, the program was on the telly, but he
Oh
said,
yeah.
well, in the old days, you had about 10 different drugs, heroin, cocaine, amphetamines, blah, de, blah.
Yeah.
And what people were doing were just changing one molecule in it
Mm.
to
Mm.
make it legal so you couldn't get busted
Mm.
for it. So they tested it and it wasn't methamphetamine, it was meth something else.
Right.
And
Right.
you wouldn't get arrested. But they so kind of messed up with the drugs, they proper monged people out,
Mm.
they
Mm.
you thought you were getting heroin, and then there's all that stuff with OxyContin and all that
Yeah. Yeah. In the
fentanyl
States.
stuff now. It's all it's all pretty messed up.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
old days,
Absolutely.
there's a kind of order to it, and
Yeah, but was it for you? I mean, for you then at 38, 39, was that transition to come off these things? Was that a big effort on you? Was there like you
not
kind of reached a
particularly like
no?
it's not the coming off so much. Although the withdrawals ain't good fun, like you're a bit
Mm,
sick, you kind of, you've cramps, blah, 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 but that lasts about 2, 3 weeks. So I kind of knew that, but it was actually the staying off,
right.
that was, you had to have a reason. And I suppose like, it's like Alcoholics Anonymous,
Yeah.
once and then that gives you a kind of the fellowship of, Narcotics Anonymous or the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous gives you a raison d'etre really to stay off.
Sure. Sure. I mean, was
Because
there some other external, like, was it, for the family, for your job? I mean,
well, a little
what?
bit of that,
Yeah.
a little bit of that. But because my wife was still using, like I talk about Babs in the act, but
Yeah.
she was a really kind of nice woman. But she used to be a stripper down at Raymond's Review Bar
Oh,
and
yeah.
very nice, but she was, an addict. She was like, she was an addict, and
Mm,
we had a daughter, and that didn't go very well, and
mm.
the daughter was kind of with her, but she couldn't look after her, so I
Oh,
kind of
dear.
stepped into thought it was about time I, did something about it, and it slowly um,
Yeah.
I got my daughter, she came to live with me, and then I relapsed after 7 years of being clean
Oh, really?
on the back of a tumor, but
Oh,
now I'm
dear.
back around, 27 years, clean. So
Brilliant.
like,
Well, all power to you, man. That's
yeah,
fun.
it's kind of, it is what it is, but I like going to the fellowship. I like doing what we do. You know, it's an interesting process.
Yeah.
Like I find the real world really punishing.
Mm,
Well, they
mm.
make a business of punishment out there. Parking a double yellow line, that'll cost you 140 quid. Don't pay this, that'll cost you this, blah, blah.
Mm,
It's all about punishment, but
r-
it's really more about revenue generating. The whole
right.
system's about, you get it wrong, it'll just cost you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now whereas in the fellowships, people just say, "Oh, well, just keep coming. Don't worry about it. It's all
Right.
okay. We
Right.
make mistakes, and
Mutual support.
it's a much gentler process, and it's
Mm,
very accepting of people. People fuck up. People relapse. We just say, keep coming back.
yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas in the real world, oh well, you can't come back to our treatment centre because you've done this and this.
Mm,
In the 12-step fellowships, it's just a question of keep coming back, a desire not to drink or a desire not to use.
yeah.
Carry the message to the addict who kind of still suffers. Try and be kind. Kindness is a big thing for me.
Mm,
I'm
mm,
attuned to if people have been unkind to me.
mm,
Drugs don't. I'm at that age now. Where I have to take a couple of old painkillers on the odd occasion.
mm,
My it's not about the emotion. It's not about my kind of emotional well-being really, because I'm quite au fait with my emotions. I can feel joy, I can feel
mm,
sadness,
mm,
I can feel if I've been betrayed. I can, like my feelings are quite, my insides out, match my outsides.
mm,
But as you get older, my knees hurt, my back hurts, my this. So you're going to have to. The doctor will say, "We'll have some of these," and
mm,
like, it
mm,
makes me feel comfortable. I'm going to take it. Why should I
mm,
walk
mm.
around all day in pain or whatever it is?
Absolutely.
I do
Yeah.
Tai Chi. I exercise. Still, I exercise a lot. So drugs don't really, figure in it. Drinking, it doesn't really. It doesn't attract me in any way, shape, or form.
Mm.
art and chat for England, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and we've got I mean, I definitely start to feel there's something, like when I come off stage, it's
Hmm.
like my brain has released some chemical. When
Yes,
I'm on stage, and there's something about that, and it's I think once you've found the comedy, actually, all these other drugs are kind of, like it's a simulation of the natural high that one gets
yeah,
from performance, right? So who needs
yeah.
these other things, really?
What was that Jewish guy? They used to call him the Beast.
You
He
mentioned that. I did actually look him up on the internet. I couldn't find. Tell me something else about him. We'll see if we can.
was American. He would have been
Yeah,
in the late 50s, early
yeah.
60s. They called him the Beast. He was Jewish. Oh, I can't think of his name. It's just oh
It's not Woody Allen, of course. It's like
no, no, no. It
oh,
was oh blimey. But he would take drugs on stage, and
oh,
he was
really?
outrageous, and he did kind of. He used to his bloke who used to write with him was an English PhD, and they used to go through the papers, and
Oh, yeah.
but he would take, and you can hear it on the record. When you listen to the record, you can hear his energy rise when he has a bit of heroin and a bit of speed, and you can hear the energy, and then you can hear the energy waning.
Oh,
And I,
wow.
I kind of go with it, listening to it. I try, oh, what's his bloody name? The Beast. It was the Beast. It was called the Beast. I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah. Lenny
Oh,
Bruce.
Lenny Bruce.
There we go.
That's your man. Yeah.
Well,
Listen to
that's
his LPs, and you can hear it.
right, right. Well, and this is ChatGPT was the one that helped us out there work out. This is what the AI is for, is help
Yes.
us older
Oh,
gentlemen with our
without a
memory.
doubt. Yeah, why write 10 jokes a day? Like, when you just go chat, just write me 20 jokes and you'll get three that are any good out of them. But
Mm.
there's still jokes. But
Yes, although of course, I mean, this is the thing with the GPT is, of course, they may be jokes that someone else written somewhere that's actually been in. Anyway, there's a whole nother conversation there,
yes,
but yeah, but I'm interested to get back to the perception of reality, but like in shading into our final question about what it all means, the life, the universe, and everything. I mean, you've had some like amazing experiences with all sorts of different substances. Of course, we must say, to all the folks out there, young and old, and otherwise, do be careful. Whatever experience we've had with whatever substances we've done doesn't mean that you're going to be, just be, I think you'd agree, wouldn't you? They've got to be careful out there because you're not sure what you're getting. Really, everybody should like basically put down the drugs, get on stage. That's the
yeah,
message to
yeah,
send, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
like, not for me, if it, if it helped, like some people say, if it weren't for the drugs, they'd be dead, you see.
Mm, mm.
Like the drugs did kind of save them. It gave me something to do for a good 25 years.
Kept you off the
Uh,
streets or on the streets, maybe.
it was quite, like it was, but, for me, like it's like this thing with this woman who got shot up in Minneapolis or something by these ICE agents,
Oh, really? I don't follow the news, so yeah. Oh, right. That happened recently,
and
did
they're
it?
and they're going, but these ICE agents, they were just following their lawful duty. And I'm, like I'm very much into being kind and honest. And I think, it was like when Charles Jimenez got shot, I don't know, about
Right.
18 years ago at
Yeah, yeah.
Stockwell. They got away with it. They weren't prosecuted,
Mm,
And the thing is, for me, it's not the point whether they were doing their law, and it is a difficult job. I'm not
right.
saying it's fucking easy,
No.
like, and I'm sure but you've got to put your hands up. Like some of these ICE agents, some of these coppers are fucking mad bastards.
Mm,
What could
mm.
like you got to put your hands up to stuff, and they're going, "Oh no, it was just she was doing this," and they've just whatever it is. It's people need to put their hands up more and but that's how government, for me, that's how it kind of works. Government saying to us, we'll throw you a few crumbs. You might get this, like we'll throw you a few people here, we'll
Mm,
throw you a couple of there. But really, we can do what we like. And they
mm.
kind of do what they like. But
Mm.
then power, hangs on to power. And
Oh,
we're at a
man.
very funny time in history now,
Absolutely.
where it kind of everything just what is it? Just kind of
Unraveling.
not evolves, but it just can't. It's there. It's on my chat, Snapchat. It's on this. It's on that. Like
Mm.
and and you watch this stuff, unravel, and then you've got Trump. Like the world's a very strange place now, and I have to kind of distance. But you say you don't watch the news,
No.
and I don't particularly watch the news.
Mm.
Um, I just try and be kind and honest with my dealings with people. I don't believe in people being cancelled. I think in comedy, what you're trying to do is find some comedy in some quite dark areas,
Mm.
and I'm not here to take. I said it once before. I was
Mm.
saying, if we could take two debates off the table, that it's wrong to murder children and that men can't give birth out the end of their penis. We could just take two fucking big debates off the table where we're all
Mm.
kind of locked into this stuff. But there's stuff happening in the world that is far more kind of serious and
Mm.
around housing, people's welfare. You know,
Mm.
how even what do you call it, when inflation's going on in the
Yeah. Yeah.
country, they're kind, stuff going on, but we're
Yeah.
kind of locked into these kind of two debates that kind of have got religious kind of connotations or are religious based. And
Yeah.
then you've got this kind of, yes, it's all made up anyway. So it's
Mm.
all
Mm.
everything's made up. We've all made it all up anyway in the
Mm.
first
Mm.
place. Let's admit to that at least. And I
Yeah.
and I and I find the world difficult from that perspective, really. But
Mm.
but the rule, yeah, the rules apply, and all we do is squabble over the bloody rules instead of kind of trying to be honest about it.
They sort of miss the wood for the trees, really.
Yeah, it's just it's for me. I enjoy it. I enjoy the kind of the cut and thrust of it all, and
Mm.
but yeah, it's interesting over here, that whole thing of freedom of speech, that they have less people getting prosecuted in Russia for freedom of speech stuff than they do over here for
Oh, really?
some. So I don't know how true that is. I've never
Well,
lived in the Soviet
we're sort of
Union.
in a weird. I mean, I'm not one to say because I've specifically withdrawn from the news in any mass media and social media. I mean, followed them since I was about 10. I've been fascinated following the world news and all this, that, and the other. But it's just got to the point now where it's kind of like I can't. It's I think the way that the news is being delivered has changed. It's this kind of like 24/7 assault of you on the phone of like, and they're like they're just desperate for your eyeballs and your attention. And I kind of like I almost like have had to, and so I'm living now is I've withdrawn from that. And I think I love what you're saying about it's like about being kind to people. I think we'd all love to be able to solve the bigger problems in the world, but like the biggest impact that you can generally have on day to day is being kind and honest in your dealings with other people, right? And
Yeah,
so I end up, yeah, I don't know. The world has got very, very, very strange. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I'm almost like I kind of give up on the bigger picture, and I just want to focus on like having fun in the moment, trying to help and support the people around me. And I mean, on the whole, I would say, both of we probably agree, like in a comedy club, right? People should be allowed to say whatever they want to say. If it's offensive, it's not funny. It's in that comedy club. I think. I mean, which is just it's this weird thing now where people, like sort of like tweet the stuff that would have been private conversations of just like, oh, maybe that was a bad thing to say. Suddenly is now on the internet, and like it's almost like this, like I say, it's this engine, this mechanism of we want eyeballs. Oh, this person said this thing. If we present it in this way, oh,
yeah.
we can get more people. Do you know what I mean? It's like this animal out there trying to feed on like the basest emotions.
Well, like I do watch them. There's loads out there though. Like, and the business now is like, let's have it right. The business is pick a side and monetize. So it
Mm,
doesn't matter what side you're on. If you're kind of extreme in your views, your left wing views or your right wing views, and
mm,
you create this what do you call it, kind of, like this conflict,
Mm.
Constantine does it, Constantine kissing, I watch his stuff, some of it makes
Mhm.
sense, but these are all just people who kind of pick a side, monetize, and make a really nice living out of shit stirring,
Right.
you know, and that's fair enough. Okay, that's your business. That's what you do. Like the Muslims against the fucking Christians, the
Mm.
Christians against the Muslims. The gays against the straights, and you've got the gays that only go up to LGB, and they're not interested in the TQXYZ. It says fuck all to do with us. All this,
Mhm.
like
Mm.
cutting body parts off and becoming this. This is nothing to do, But then you've got people who actually capitalize on it from being, either one side or another side, and
Mm.
they're quite vocal. They write about it. It's a business in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I kind of see past that, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like the thing in the States where that woman got, shot and murdered by this copper, whether it was lawful or whether it wasn't lawful, like, was he a wrong un or weren't he a wrong un? That's all I want
Mm.
to know. Because
Mm.
I can go online now and there's loads of, police where they've prosecuted police, so there's good and bad everywhere. But,
Mm.
the government turned around to me, well, that, you know, 90% of the time the government are saying, oh, no, they were quite right in doing it.
Mm.
They were
Mm.
lawful, it was all right, but that's kind of, power talking, hanging on to power. But the
Yeah.
thing
Well,
about
but
the,
power
the
is a very strange thing. You
all
made an
that
interesting.
lot there,
Mm.
Charlie Kirk, terrible he got murdered. You need to go around murdering each other now for having an opinion. It's just nonsense, I'm no
Right.
great, like Charlie Kirk, said what he said, and I kind of agreed with some of it, didn't agree with some of it.
Mm.
There's like, it's like Jeremy Corbyn, they called him what do I, what do I know, But the business is the divide and rule. It's a business. It's a big business now.
Yeah, yeah. There's a machinery and there's money behind it. It's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I was really interested in one thing, and maybe we'll kind of end on this. Is you said you want them to admit it's all a story, and that's something I'm on a lot. I mean, I listen to a lot of like spiritual stuff that talks a lot about how the self is not real, like our like you and I are both constructed stage personas which we don't treat as completely real, but it's not so dissimilar from the supposed real people that we all are. They are themselves kind of fictions that we've created selectively from our memories from a different parts and what have you. But so when it comes down to independently of the governments and whatever crazy things they're doing, what does it all mean to you, the life, the universe, and everything? Are we living in a simulation? Is God going to greet us when we die? Or it doesn't have to be, or even simple picture. You just take it day by day. But what does it all mean? Go on.
Well, for me, like I'm just gonna, like I am the, what is it, the righteous pilgrim. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
You've got religion and all that on that side. You've got capitalism, corporatism on that side, and they're both like causing trouble in the world. Both those sides, capitalism, corporatism,
Okay.
religion, all that. They're all kind of, that's where all the kind of conflict and shite is really.
Mm.
That's where it kind of emanates from there.
Mm.
Money, believe this, don't believe this. I kind of, tread a kind of a middle, not a middle path. Not that I don't get involved or anything like that, but
Mm.
you know, I just walk, like I say, a righteous pilgrim. I just walk through it and try and meet people where they are.
Mm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and what I know about you is, Sam, you ain't me. So
Right.
like all I can do is meet you where you are. You meet me where I am. You're neither wrong or right, and I'm neither wrong or right.
Mm.
And then we've got to find a way then to sort of commune this. You can't help where you're born. You can't help your religion.
Right.
I was born into other people's stories and expectations, and I
Mm.
had a lot of unlearning to do. So, and that's what it's all about. That unlearning. I've just had to, not, just try and be kind. Consider other people. What's important for me, and try and state my needs and wants. Without being aggressive, violent, or unkind.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I think you're echoing the words of a great individual. You must unlearn what you have learned. Yoda, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Excellent. Andy, it's been a wonderful talking to you. I'm
Thank you.
the listeners or the individual. We've talked actually last week was it with Samuel Dayback. There's one listener. I think we only have one listener. That called John maybe. Will be wanting to get out and see you on stage. Be able to follow you. Where should they go on the teaming interwebs? Where should they go in reality in order to see more of
Well,
you?
I see you at your place down on
Yeah, we've
thingy.
got you at Crack Up on I
I
think
don't know what
February
I've
the
got.
5th or something, isn't it, or the 13th? Yeah.
I'm really pleased to be working with Anthony. What's his name? Oh, young fella.
Oh
Um,
yes, yes, Alsworth, Anthony Heston. We've had him on the podcast.
and Anthony Heston.
Yeah, he's
So
brilliant.
he's just we're going up to um, we're going up to Edinburgh, and he wants to do a show called Comedy with Me and with my granddad. It's him and me, and like the millennial versus the baby boomer, like
Brilliant.
who's got a locked in pension, who's got his own house, who
Yeah,
had
yeah.
the best drugs, who listened to the best music, had the best sex. You know what I mean? I don't have to fill in forms or anything, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you see me up in Edinburgh, like Adam Bloom said, I was the funniest set he'd ever seen in 20, I think it was 2024 at the whole of the.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fair play. I don't know where I am. I'm at your place.
Yeah, you're Feb 9th. We've got you at Crack Up. Yeah, in
Yeah, so
Watford.
I'll be there. I think I'm in. I don't know where I am. Let's have a look. Um, let's have a look. Let's have a look at my diary. Because like I say, I cancel quite a lot. I do this Deadliners thing. It's called Deadliners 58. It's like a
Oh yeah,
podcast, but we're just sort of bringing it to. We're trying to make sense of what is the show about.
yeah, yeah.
We have people talking in the room, and then we take it out. We edit it and just take. We had Mark Rivlin, who's a good mate of mine, and
Mm-hmm.
some of his one-liners are so naff. We in the show we explode him and blow him up when he's got a bum one, and we just take the Mickey out of people in the show.
Yeah.
We do a few sketches in it, so you can always get me on Deadliners 58, but
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of still evolving. We had a big period out over Christmas because I got really sick
Yeah,
with
you're
the
saying,
flu.
yeah.
But what else have I got? Monday, that's Anthony on Monday. Um, I've got. Oh no, I'm just going to go and see a mate of mine. What have I got there? I've got Tommy. I'm at Tommy Matthews. He's got a gig for the Lions' Den 20th birthday on the 20th at Elephant and Castle.
Nice.
That'll be good fun. And what we got there? What we got? What we got? That's date. I'm in Captain Blue. What is it? Breadboard comedy, but that's out in I don't know where that is. David Watt, a guy. But yeah,
Yeah, all of that. Well, send me a list of the things you've got upcoming. We can get them in the show notes.
yeah. I've
People can
got
get
one for
out to see
a
you.
guy called Bilal. I forget his last name.
Bill Rashad, yeah, very funny guy.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
really. So he's doing a pro night in Greenwich in a theatre, which he's got
Mm,
me opening, which is
brilliant.
nice. I'm looking forward to that. And then other stuff will hopefully come in now that I'm feeling a lot
A little bit
better.
better, yeah, yeah, good stuff. Yeah, no,
But
yeah, Bill Rashid, he's very funny. We're looking to get him on the
yeah,
podcast soon. Yeah,
yeah,
brilliant
yeah.
stuff.
A bit out
Well,
there, a bit edge.
yeah, good stuff. Well, thanks everyone for listening. You're one person listening. And remember, you can help support comedians on technology, people, and drugs by going to patreon.com/comedians on, where any level of support will help us continue to produce this show. I don't think anyone's given us any support there. Maybe they never will. It's a cost of living crisis. I mean, money, who needs it? We'd love it. But probably the way to help if you're short of cash is to follow our Facebook group and comment or ask questions there, or on Spotify. And please do follow us on Spotify. Apparently, that's how to get the algorithm to get its rhythm back. And we look forward to being in your ears again soon. Last word to our fantastic guest, Andy Zapp.
Right, from me, be kind. That's all it is, really.